Hi, my name is Stephen Peterson. I am a corporate lawyer in Vancouver, Canada, and today I'm talking about gambling in video games using in-game currency. Now, before I get into this, I do want to say this does not constitute legal advice. So please, before you make major business or investment decisions, talk to your legal or investment advisors. So the reason I got onto this gambling in video games is I was introduced to this game called Racer 1. So this is kind of a cool racing game. You have an avatar, you go around a track, you get these cards, it can make you go faster, make the other guys go slower. It reminded me a little bit of Mario Kart, but maybe that's just because I'm so old. I was actually terrible at the game, but it is very fun. And it's a crypto game. So it's hooked up to your profile's hooked up to your crypto wallet. When you win in-game currency, it shows up as tokens in your wallet. You buy a skin, show up as an NFT. And you can take those things, you can gamble in the game. So you can bet your in-game currency on yourself. Not a good idea in my case, but you can also bet on other players, and they facilitate these tournaments, and there's this really cool sort of community around the game and really fun stuff. So as I thought this and as I played this, I thought, oh, okay, this is awesome. Like, how does this interact with gambling laws, and how should we think about this and this in-game currency and all this stuff? And so I wanted to start with just talking about what the legal definition of gambling is. Now, I do want to recognize legal definitions are jurisdiction specific. I'm going to, list three sort of overarching elements that I think are very helpful in understanding this, but definitely you may need to look at specific jurisdiction legislation depending on where your user base is. So anyway, legal definition of gambling, three elements are: first, consideration. So something of value going into the game. Second is chance or risk. So there's some kind of game, a mixed skill and chance or whatever it is. There's some kind of risk there. And then third, there's the opportunity for a prize. So there's the opportunity to win something, and then that prize needs to be something of value. So you have consideration going in, you have an element of chance, and then you have a prize being something of value coming out the other side. And so what does the case law say about this? So there's one case that I want to talk about, and it involved a game called Castle Clash. It was a civilization game where you could buy or earn these gems that you could do all kinds of stuff with, and they had different games of chance inside the game where you could win more gems or lose more gems or all kinds of stuff like that. A bunch of users of the game got together and filed a class action and said, hey, this constituted illegal gambling for all these kind of different reasons, and we were harmed and all this stuff. And the judge looked at all this stuff and said, well, no, this does not constitute illegal gambling. And the reason the judge said that was because there wasn't that third element, that prize. And it wasn't that there wasn't a prize at all, and it wasn't that the prize they did win, as in more gems, didn't have some kind of value. It definitely had value in the game. It was more nuanced as far as the prize wasn't something of value that gambling laws were intended to cover. And so because it was sort of fell outside of that, it was far enough away that the judge said, no, this did not constitute illegal gambling. And the judge got to that conclusion, despite the fact that the plaintiffs argued that, hey, maybe you can't sell the gems on the street, but you can go and you can take your profile and you can go to secondary sites and you can, sell it, and you have kind of this off ramp where you can cash out there on these secondary sites. So despite that, the judge said no, and there was some nuance and interest to his rationale as far as you were selling the whole profile and not just a little piece of it. Anyway, lots of stuff there, lots of nuance in this ruling. But how do we think about that in regards to a game like Racer 1 and other crypto games where you can gamble? And I think a big thing is, okay, what does that off-ramp look like for this prize, and how easy is that to cash out? And so with crypto, inherently, you have this other element is in the actual in-game currency is tradable. It's much, much easier to trade these things. You don't need the game maker to provide you with a marketplace. You can find a decentralized exchange if there's a trading pair, or, if there is a willing buyer, you can find one. And so that is one element and something to look at. Okay, so this in-game currency or this in-game token that we're producing, how tradable is it? How easy is it to trade something for something that a judge might see as a thing of value? The other element to think about is, well, your risk profile in all this is going to change kind of depending on how popular the game is. And so as a game becomes more popular, obviously there's much more of a chance that you would have a thriving secondary market for these tokens or whatever in-game currency you're earning. And so much greater chance that somebody could look at that and say, oh yeah, that looks a lot more like something of value that gambling laws were meant to cover. The other risk element that changes as your game becomes more popular is just the potential for a class action. So a lot of the cases in A lot of the case law in these gambling cases are from class actions being brought against makers of the game. And so obviously with any kind of gambling game, you've got winners and losers. You've got much more losers than you do winners. You mint a lot of losers, and you know, the chances of them bringing a class action is greater. And so in those, you've got to think about obviously gambling rules, but consumer harm rules. And there's sort of a bunch of other things to kind of think about as you're kind of weighing your sort of risk and pros about all that. So I hope this was helpful. You know, I hope it helps you to sort of conceptualize, you know, what does those off-ramp looks like? What does this prize look like? Yeah, as far as an in-game currency. And I also hope that you keep building, because I know life would be a lot more boring if you weren't building the kind of projects that you're building. So happy building, and take care.